Okay. Hey guys. Apologies for the start here. Hope you're doing well. I am excited to be hanging out today and talking Splinterlands. Let me make sure all my audios are good. Get the camera up there a little. Let's hold that there. Okay, and I'm getting good clearance on my my OBS stats, but let me know if you're having troubles hearing me or if the music's too loud or anything like that. Let me know who's out there and what's up today. Bolts. Oh, hang on. Bear with me for a second. I gotta fix something. Feature comment. Pop out. Boom. There it is. Afternoon, brother. Hope you guys are excited for the auction day. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. The actual auction, I was thinking about it yesterday. I think it was on X, somebody posted, how much do you think is going to come from, what sort of DC is going to go from that auction? And one of the most frequently responded to, actually wonder if I can find it. There was multiple choice options, 4 different selections. Here it is. SPS DAO. How much DC will Hello's auction send to the DAO in total after 100 cards are sold? How hyped are you for the Splinterlands card auction? Let us know in the comments. And I said 100 million to 250 million. And I think 150 million is probably in the right ballpark. I actually believe $1,000 per regular foil makes sense for that sort of scarcity, for that quality card. And then the gold foils, just generally speaking, to have 5 of them is just such a ludicrous scarcity level. I don't really know how to properly price that. But I do feel like, you know, maybe 5,000, maybe 10,000's, maybe 10,000's on the table. And so then that makes me 150 million or 150 million DC or $150,000 being spent on those cards, you know. And I guess I'm interested to see that 37% people agree with me. Like the majority of people, that was the most frequently chosen response. That tells me a certain bullishness towards this. And the X community is quite significant in terms of the Splinterlands connection and crossover. And so it's not as if this is a small sample. Yeah, there's only 48 votes there. Take that with a grain of salt, right? But I think less than 100 million is just definitely wrong. And I think more than 250, I would be astonished. So at 250, we're talking like $2,000 for a regular foil. And if SPS was spiking right now, I could see that. Like if SPS was going from a penny to 3 cents, that's the sort of environment where people will just throw money around. The sloshing wealth, when your wallet is like way extra heavy because of certain green candles you just enjoyed, people are inclined to do that kind of extra spending. But I think I'm right. I think we're going to be in that 150 range, 130 to 150. I wonder what you guys think. Gathering, thanks for coming by, bud. Jim, good to see you, brother. Awesome new look. I appreciate you, brother. Thanks, man. You know what? Honestly, first of all, it's hilarious how much, let's say, attention my appearance attracts for a guy who like creates videos about a video game online. I appreciate your seemingly sincere, kind words. Thank you. But it's like there are people who support me. There are people who think, they've got negative things to say about my appearance. And frankly, I'm doing what I'm doing. Like I don't wake up in the morning and put on the shirt that I think you guys are going to like the best. But I want to hang out with you, and I hope that's cool. I hope we can be cool, even if I'm not trying to jump through hoops to entertain or like appear the certain way that you guys want. And so to the people who have been critical of some of my appearance changes, I mean, I'm happy with myself. And to those who have supported me in this visual, in this, I guess, new version of Dwayne, thanks. Appreciate it. I will say though, the mullet, I love the mullet. I love the mullet. I love it. But I can already tell I'm not going to be able to keep it beyond, like, let's say March of next year. And so I usually go through these phases. Like I've had hair that was like longer than my shoulders, like some crazy flow. I should pull up a picture if I could find it. You know, that's cool. It's interesting. It's different. I like that kind of thing. I like changing it up. I've also shaved. I've also done buzz. I've also done this and that and everything else. And I just like changing my appearance in kind of stark or, 90-degree angle, just these big changes. It feels fresh. And so I like this one, but man, it's uncomfortable. Like I even now in almost November, I guess October 30th today, in Canada right now, it's like 10 degrees Celsius, which is like 50 Fahrenheit or something. And so it's cool. It's cool. It's rainy. It's gray skies. You know, I'm wearing pants and a light jacket when I go for a walk. Despite the coolness and despite this season being, that's pretty typical for us, that 50 to 60 Fahrenheit range, I can't handle this. Like, it's like I'm wearing a scarf around my neck. Like the hair just like, it's like a scarf. And so I can tell already once the winter season is done, I'm going to have to chop it, even though I like the style. As for the facial hair, all my friends, a lot of people that I respect and sort of, giving me kind compliments around this new look. My wife hates it, so it's got to go. And so, yeah, I mean, happy wife, happy life. I try really hard to, I want to be her man. I don't just want to be I don't want to be my idea of handsome. I want to be her idea of handsome. In the same way, I hope she would try and put on a nice dress for me to express that longing for my eye and my affection. And so this is here for Halloween. I was dressed up as Luigi the other day with my kids. It was so cute. Again, another photo I'd love to show you. Maybe I'll post it on YouTube later. I'm Luigi. Gregory's Mario. Hazel, my older daughter, was Princess Daisy, and Lumina in her wheelchair was Princess Peach. And she has this like little Mario Kart, I don't know how to, like a car costume that goes over top of her Princess Peach costume, so it looks like she's like a Mario Kart character going through a race. Anyways, super cute. Oh, and my wife was a brick. You know how Mario punches the bricks, and she had this. She went to the store and got this inflatable helium inflated balloon, which was a star, and she put these cute little eyes on it. Looked exactly like the brick from Mario. When you punch it, you get a. And all the kids loved it. They'd come over and be like wanting to touch the star to like get invincibility. So, anyways, appreciate the comments and the compliments and even the salty ones who are just like negative. Like, frankly, they're generating conversation, and I appreciate it. Jim says the new cards look pretty cool. I haven't actually, I saw them post yesterday. I looked at them, but I was running around. I want to look at them in a minute here. Hello. End of the season tomorrow. Happy Halloween. Yeah, end of season. I'm looking forward to it. I'm recording a video right now, Gathering and everybody. Which is like a multi-day. It'll be a more complex video. It's one of the harder ones I've recorded. Usually when I jump on to do a video, I jump on with an idea. I don't necessarily have a script. I have like a general sense of what I want to say and where I want to go, and I just go and we record. And usually one take and maybe slight editing, 20 minutes to record, 20 minutes to edit, and out she goes. But with this video that I'm recording today and yesterday, I'm doing an end of season video where I'm going to actually look to reach the leaderboard. And I've heard through the grapevine that more than one of you guys is fighting for leaderboard in Splinterlands in order to get those DEC payouts, and that you found an opportunity in there through renting cards. And so I've had more than one voice and more than one person at more than one time tell me that that's plausible. And not just plausible, but that they're actually doing it. And so 20,000 DEC is available for the lowest. the lowest tier of payout on the leaderboard on the wild, and I'm striving for it. So here's the thing. I'm doing like a multi-day video where I'm collecting clips of what I did to prepare, how I thought it through, what I'm doing to maximize the returns, and I'm hoping that it'll be a valuable video for next season, following end of season. But I'm not going to release an end of season reward chest opening because of something that's really pivotal within the conversation that I'm talking about. So Gathering mentioned end of season. I'm excited for it. I'm going to watch your guys' video openings when some of you show what reward chests you get. But I personally will not be opening my reward chests because of something that we're going to see in that video. And so maybe I'll reveal more. It'll be out in a couple days. It'll be out like probably 48 hours from now. And I hope that it'll be helpful to everybody who plays at the highest level. It's not going to be helpful if you're a silver warrior. It's not going to be helpful if you're gold. But if you're in diamond or champ in wild, and if you're a top tier player or you play with, an excellent bot and you have some DC to throw around, there can be some options where this might be viable and valuable. Mystic Force, good to see you, brother. The auction will show how many whales we have. Do you have 100 people that will spend 1,000 plus? I think you're right, Gathering. And Bolt says you'll be surprised. I actually think there'll be a surprise as well, Bolts. But I think the surprise will be in that the data isn't as clear as Gathering is alluding to. Gathering implies that we can determine how many whales we have based on how many sell for 1,000 plus. I think that's an interesting metric and it's a worthwhile measuring stick, but we have to also remember that there's a confounding variable, like a complicating thing that could make that data less reliable. What do I mean? Well, if we have 200 people that are whales and that want to spend $1,000 on a card, now the price isn't $1,000. Do you see what I mean? If there's 100 units possible, in fact, if there's 95 regular foil Hello is the Hollow cards, and there's an interest of 190 whales, now we understand, and they're all willing to pay $1,000. Okay, well, $1,000 isn't the price. That's how supply and demand works. If there are twice as many buyers as there are sellers, and the price was theoretically $1,000, now the price is $1,200. Now, do we still have 180 or 190 people that want to buy it for $1,200? Okay, well, the price isn't $1,200. Do you see what I mean? The price will go up and up and up until we start to drop away at some of those quote unquote whales that are interested. And so I actually think if we see more than $1,000, if we see less than $1,000, what that tells me on average per regular foil, less than $1,000 tells me that there's probably in the neighborhood of 50 to 75 deeply interested people with money to throw around. Hundreds of dollars, a few $1,000. I think we're going to prove that will not be so. I think there'll be more than that. I think if you get in that 100 range, $1,000 to me for that card with its functionality, with its perceived impact, with its recognized scarcity, to me actually seems logical. You might disagree. You might say, no, I don't see it having that great of an impact on the meta. And the utility has to be understood. If we agree that the utility is significant, that the card is perhaps even overpowered, then we have to understand that $1,000 threshold puts it in sort of that price range of the past promo sales. People threw around that kind of money to get access to Night Stalker and Delia, or the cards before that. $100,000 was what they spent. And so I'm saying if we spend less than that on this card, it reflects a lack of utility or a lack of whales. And so my view would be we're actually going to see that price, that 1,000-ish range to me is like we probably have 100 people that really want it. Versus if we start seeing at $1,500 per unit or $1,200 per unit or even more than that per unit on the regular foil, that tells me there's probably 200 people chasing, 400 people chasing after it. So it will reveal something. He's right, but we have to pull on the data a bit more, recognizing that the general consensus around the card's utility is part of that conversation, as well as if there are too many buyers the price can move away from 1,000 in a way that doesn't tell you that there are, yeah, it's more complicated is all I'm saying. It's going to be fun to watch. Whether it sells for 1,000, whether it sells for less, whether it sells for more, it's going to be fun to watch. Deus, good to see you. Figured I'd drop by and say hello. Appreciate you, pal. Thanks for popping by. And yeah, I hope you're well. Oscar, good to see you. Tails, we're going to find out soon enough how many whales we have. Yep, absolutely. Why not? Evening all, good to see you. Guten Tag to you as well. Meine Freundin. I love these little bear icons. I just love them. Like, I know, like, being an optimist and being a hopeful sort of person in this space, I should want, everyone to share my confidence, right? Somehow these little cute little bears make me smile every time. They're so frigging adorable. Thanks, International Travel Channel. 70s Fahrenheit in Michigan. I'm really surprised. I thought Michigan was much colder, and you're saying unusually warm, but I thought Michigan was like really one of those like snowy, wintry, especially now in October. But I've never been there, to be honest. Anyone want to do a ghost card challenge? Post your IGN. Yeah, there's the new. I saw the post yesterday talking about. Actually, I want to pull it up. Let's go to Discord for a second. Oh, challenge. Let's do it. DK1. We're doing Diamond League, all of them. Modern ghost cards. Modern ghost cards. I love it. So I tried this the other day, and I tried to send a challenge to myself, and it would only let me play with cards I had. I think it wasn't quite ready yet or something. So 3+ speed, amp, and fire and regret. Man, it looks so nice to look at this and right now and see a Lux there. I haven't had a Lux in forever, and I'd maxed out Tofu. Are you kidding me? Wow. Ay, ay, ay. There's some juicy cards I don't have in real life that I'm looking at right now, and I'm long to have one day, and we will one day have them. I think this is the play. Interesting. I don't know if that's the play, but I'm giving it a shot. Oh, no, this is going to be problematic for me. What? That is wild. This data right here. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm trying not to speak about exactly what I'm thinking because I know whoever the challenge is probably watching. I still think this is worthwhile, even though the situation. Okay. I'm feeling, I think I know what's up now. Oh, wow. This card is, so many of these cards look so much better at the levels that I'm now seeing. Like, they're just so much better. Put you back there. Give me Fiverr. I love doing challenges, but this will be the last one I'm going to do for a while because I want to focus on the Discord post yesterday. Let's put you out there. And you got a shield? Are you kidding me? Let's go. Okay. Let's see if that works. And then we got to go. This is my first ever play with this character. Of course you went Tofu. Okay, so you got the Martyr. So the win condition for you is really just letting this be a distraction. The thorn's killing me. You brought out the 0. I didn't bring out the Eleanor. Of course, why not the Eleanor? Anyways, gotta focus. Scavenge for me would be really effective on who? It might be effective on Halfling. No, Halfling Refugee probably goes down too fast to merit an effective Scavenge. Okay. We go Divine Shield. I don't know if this is enough. I'm going to go like that. So I put Divine Shield on Halfling, on Hilarion Huntress, and on Acid Shooter because I want to give them access to have one more round of no damage. We are going to be Thorns damaged, and it's going to hurt, and it's amped, and it's going to kill. But if I can get poisons off, you know, one extra time because I give a Divine Shield onto my Acid Shooter, 17 hit points. And you got a triage too, didn't you? You used triage? Yeah, scavenge and the triage on. I don't know if the scavenge on the Iziar is the most logical, because a scavenge on the Iziar implies that the Iziar is not going to be focused down. Like, I mean, in your best scenario, your Iziar goes down. You know what I mean? Like, that's a benefit to you. That's the martyr. That's the proccing of the martyr. Oh, I missed. But my tank heal is putting in work. Yes, poison. And of course we're getting damaged, but the Acid Shooter is such a crazy clutch card. Yeah, I do think we're going to pull it off, even with the triage. Because we poisoned. Are we though? Like, yeah, we bring you to first. Now we throw another 5-bomb on because of the heal was so pivotal. The Mary Put. I don't have the Mary Put Magician in my own deck. Clearly it's such a crazy card. Oh, and the miss. But there it is. W. See, I feel like the triage and the scavenge would have been more effective on maybe on your main tank, whatever he's called again. Because but then nothing died. So the scavenge is relatively useless. And the triage was a support to your martyr. I think Divine Shield might have changed that game for you. I think Divine Shield might have allowed you, maybe. But I also think I ended up winning primarily because I had more little damages that were sustainable enough. Like 4 from the Hilarion Huntress, 2 from the Thunder Hoof, 2 from the Acid Shooter with the poison, 1 from the Mary Put. Like, I just had more damage output than you did. Okay, so I want to look at the Discord post because I saw this and it was cool. This is worth celebrating, man. This is worth celebrating. I know this is like a one-time thing right now, and I assume most of you saw it. Royal Eagle posted in Discord official announcements. Everyone, there's an exciting new rank battle challenge. Obtain a final victory, killed by the Venari Marks Rat in ranked battle, and be the first to share your screenshot and link your battle in the comments below. 2 winners total, 1 for each reward. And the challenge starts now. So that was yesterday at like pretty much 23 hours ago. This is great stuff. This is a way that we're going to engage the community. We're going to drive excitement. It's a relatively nominal reward, and yet it's not nothing. 80,000 DEC, even at current price points, 35, 40 bucks, 40 bucks, I think, $40 US while you're playing the game anyways. So you just go ahead and play the game and use the Marks Rat, which is a quality card. Where's the Marks Rat within the Marks Rat is my 11th number played, my 11th lifetime winningest card. 507 win rate. Oh, it's behind my video, isn't it? Here, let me switch cameras. So, Marks Rat, 507 win rate, 349 wins, 339 losses. I play it a lot. Like, we're in competition with some of the best of the best of the best cards there. So it's not like you're having to not play a quality card in order to participate in this opportunity. You get the opportunity to play a winning card and at the same time seek after like an additional reward. That's just really wise. You're driving you're driving excitement towards those who already play the game, who already enjoy the game, who want to play the game and want to play it more, and you're giving them a little thing to chase after. It's actually a really smart incentive. And then DEC, I mean, it might be wiser if it was it might be optimized if it was like if it was Glint. That might actually be the more logical issuance. DEC's fine. The team has a lot of it. They can, they can make choices like that. The DAO could too, right? The DAO could incentivize sort of play in those similar ways using assets that we have. I would argue the optimized approach to such a reward would probably be from a Glint perspective, because Glint is issued anyways. Glint equals a certain type of reward within the game. It might not drive as much eagerness and incentive because it's not liquid, but it's still meaningful. Regardless, I love that. I love what they did there. I love that they're doing that. 80,000 DEC. That's, in fact, it's more than I said, isn't it? It's, well, let's just do the math right now. Let's break out the calculator. 80,000 DEC times 0.0008, 64 US dollars for the high one, and 30,000 DEC is about 20 bucks, 25, 0.0008. 24. There you go. Those are meaningful, man. Meaningful rewards. And this is the sort of thing I think that will drive players who are already enjoying the game to chase after more, maybe to buy energy in certain situations. I mean, frankly, there are other things in the background for me that are causing me to buy energy even now. And I think I better just tell you more about that in a separate video. But, this is a nice little, it's a carrot on a stick, and it drives us forward to some extent. Cool. That's a big deal. The auction house opens its doors. Let's go check out the auction house. I saw it yesterday briefly, but I want to see it more clearly. Auction. There it is. So 7 days, 1 hour, bidding starts. Yeah, this card looks, I think I'm right about the price points. I think this is going to be 1,000 plus on average, because I think the card is amazing. I think the impact will be significant, and I think the community of whales is bigger than 100. And the other piece that I didn't fully finish my thought on there when I was talking about that earlier is it doesn't even matter if there's just 100 whales, because not every whale wants one. Some whales will want two. And so that radically transforms the consideration. If there are 100 whales and they each want two, same problem as if you have 200 whales that each want one. Rift Summoner, good to see you, brother. See, not everybody approves. I appreciate your Rift. Thanks, Oscu. Gathering says, we can see how many people put bids in or just the winner. I actually don't know. That's an interesting question. I hope, from an excitement perspective, I would think it would be more exciting if when you go to a real auction, you put up your hand, you say, I'll bid $100, I'll bid $500, I'll bid, and you could watch that grow. I would argue that'll be more interesting than like a closed circuit, private. The team would know. The team would have to know, right? The team, if you bid 100 and I bid 200, the team would have to know when those bids came in and whose account bid it. The DEC would have to been in escrow. I think that's what Matt said. Essentially, you're like tying it up because they're not going to win. You're not going to win the auction and then not have the DEC. So for all those reasons, there's going to be a tracking of each bid. And so I would argue it would make the most sense and be the most logical thing to just constantly update the price point as bids grow, which would allow us as viewers to track it. One bid came in $100, another two, another three, another five, another seven, another 1,000. And everything from how frequent those bids are to how quickly they escalate will be very revealing to us in terms of who's bidding and how vigorous and how excited and how, that'll be interesting to break down and analyze. And so I would argue that'll be a fun live event. I don't know when, that's going to be essentially an hour from now, next week. I can do that. I'm going to go live then. So I'll be live here. I'm sure I won't be the only one, but I'm going to be live here. And if you want to hear my thoughts as that's unfolding, Come hang out. Yeah, exactly. One whale could buy the whole lot. You're right. And so it's true that it's hard to understand. Like if they all sell and they sell for 1,000, that's a success. In my mind, that is almost, in my mind, that's like the marker of success. It would translate to something like $120,000 to $150,000 being spent on this card, based on peg DAC, which is not accurate, but you know what I mean. I'm saying $1,000 worth of DAC to buy one regular unit, and somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 per unit on a gold foil. That, in my mind, is the line in the sand for success for this card. Now, it could be that there's one person who buys all of them, and still gets us across that finish line, and that's still a success, even though it's not the sort of the depth or the breadth of market interest that we probably really want. I would rather have 100 interested whales than one really interested whale. In my opinion, that's safer, more secure, that's a better foundation to build our future on, etc. And we can't really tell which we have unless we sort of see names and bids and the frequency of bids as it's all unfolding. That will really reveal a lot to us. But if a lot of that data is obscured to the public and only visible to Splinterlands, the company, then I would argue we will be left in the dark a bit. Because you might just be seeing the end result. One sold for $1,000, one sold for $800, one sold, one didn't sell. I find that very hard to believe, don't you guys? Like, I guess they're all going to sell. Like, someone will put in some kind of bid. Man. So that feels like, to me, the line in the sand. And I don't know that we're going to really be able to discern the true appetite of the whale community based solely on the price point, because it could be one or two or three or five that are buying up, multiple copies versus 900 or 100 separate individuals. And one more thought on that. If I think $1,000 for regular foil represents a victory or like a really, a success in terms of its sale, I would argue $500 to me reflects, per regular foil, reflects lack of interest, lack of perceived utility, lack of whale community. Like $500 to me would be a big loss. Even $700 to me feels like either I'm not understanding the impact and the usefulness of that card, or the community just doesn't agree with me, right? You might disagree with me, and maybe I end up being right, but still, if you're not interested, you're not interested. Whatever the case may be, to me, anything under 1,000 is per regular foil represents lack of interest, lack of perceived functionality, lack of whale community. Anything above it is icing on the cake in my mind. But as we slip between what I would imagine, if there's many units that are selling for 700, 600, 500, 400, if that's happening, first of all, I will desperately try to get one. And second of all, I would think it would make sense to have to cover the content and to do a video around what that would imply about the lack of interest and what that might imply about the lack of investment dollars available, etc. And you would have to weigh that against, like, if you're, on the scales of that conversation, you would weigh that against the idea that we recently sold so much from the other rewards, not rewards, the other legends. And this sale starts the day before, so that'll be fun to watch unfold too. We should talk about those cards too. But I mean, we sold 150-ish, right? Ish, with the Night Stalker and whatever the other one was called, Delia or whatever. And we sold about 100 with this one. Anything less than that with respect to Hello is the Hollow, in my mind, would be a failure or represent lack of perceived functionality, which might be a failure in the perspective of card design or community appeal. Because, like, card design is one thing, how you make it, the functionality you build into it. Another piece is driving or sparking interest within the community. because they aren't necessarily the same thing. You can drive a conversation that, it gets the community excited about an asset that doesn't necessarily have like overpowered nature. And so it's like the the salesmanship and the card design is what I'm talking about. Tail says, an interesting question is how 100 days of auction impacts promo card sales and possibly CA pre-sales. Okay, Conclave Arcana pre-sales numbers. I don't think most Splinterlands whales have indefinite discretionary income. I think you're 100% correct. And I think you're right that there'll be a lot of valuable... I would want to sit with that topic for a little bit and kind of get my head around and watch some of the preliminary data come through, and before I try to make conclusions or interpretations of what might happen. But I think you're on to something there. There's a real meaningful conversation that can and should probably happen. And maybe you'll be the one to make that content, Tails. Like there's real data in there that you could probably dive into, because you'll be looking at the 100-day auction sale. You'll be looking at the legend sales. I didn't know Conclave Arcana pre-sales are happening in that same window. I guess it would be, because the 100-day auction is 3.5 months. So that pushes, into that future. The first card that sells is so important. If it only goes for 400 or so, that sets the tone. You're right. You're 100% right. I don't believe that that's possible for the first card. I could be way off. I don't know these things. I know I sound super confident, because I am, but I don't know any of this. Like, I'm just, for those who, I know the gathering knows my head and my heart for talking about this stuff. I just love chatting about these things and making these speculations. Some of you don't know me as well as he does. And so I would say to anyone who, why is Dwayne so confident about it? I'm just confident because I've thought it through as best I can, and my opinions are based on my calculations as I understand them. And that doesn't mean they're reliable. It just means that I'm relying on them. And so my response to gathering in this situation and with his comment is, I just don't think it's possible that the first one sells for $400. In my opinion, that will not happen. I would bet money that won't happen. Others, I wonder if any of you would take me up on it. Like, if there was a way for us to trustlessly bet, like, let's say, what would I be willing to bet? I'd be willing to bet like maybe like 5 rebellion packs. I'd be willing to bet 5 rebellion packs that the first, like, that doesn't even feel big enough. Like, honestly, I'd probably be willing to, in the right situation, in the right circumstance, with a bit more time to sit on it, I might feel so confident to say I would be willing to bet 50 rebellion packs that the first set or first Hello is the Hollow sells for more than $400. But I don't, but I feel as though gathering, as well as anybody thinking that it's not going to do well, and that you're going to say that it's highly unlikely, and you would need odds in that sort of thing, which I would agree with, right? Like, I'm saying, I think 1,000 is probably likely, and I think many of you would agree. I do think 400 could possibly happen at some point through the 100-day sale, because you have to imagine some of the whales if they get to buy, if there are 100 whales and over the first 50 days, most of them get what they want and they're satisfied and are not necessarily even paying attention for the next week. Well, that transforms the following week, because every day is being priced actively. That's not the word I'm looking for. The price is being explored every 24 hours. It starts at 0 and it's going to go up. And so I would bet that those who are interested in the card will be every single day for 100 days looking in to see, is it below $500? I'm going to bid $500. That's what I would think is going to happen. And then someone will tune on and be like, is it below $700? I'm going to bid $700. That, until it reaches a certain threshold that the community generally agrees, the community of whales generally agree is appropriate. Maybe that's 1,000, maybe that's 500, maybe it's wherever. But to me, in my mind, with my confidence, I just think, and I don't even think Gathering thinks it's going to go for 400. He's just making the point that the first day will set the tone, and he's ready with that. It will also be interesting to see how the auction card price compare to the meta rentals such as Tofu, Inevitable, Kitty, etc. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I wonder how long. See, people like me and maybe you, Tails, and everybody who looks at that kind of thing, there's a lag in that, isn't there? Like it takes at least, I would think a week to calculate enough battles or to experience enough battles in order to extract a reliable analysis of a card's impact on the meta. In my opinion, now it's October 30th actually, I think Night Stalker is only now sort of revealing where its impact. So Night Stalker, which I love, my lifetime record, or which is actually just my monthly my current month record. Is that not right? Oh, I played one battle outside of the current month. How is that possible? I don't know how that's possible because I believe I got the Night Stalker on the 15th. Regardless, that's a side conversation. Tracking for 30 days, tracking Night Stalker's performance, I guess for 30 days, or how I've been able to ascertain this. I don't think it's been 30 days. When did I buy Night Stalker? You know what? I can come over to Peak Monsters, My Explorer, card sales. This is it here. These are them there. That was on 21 days ago. Okay. So like October 9th. On October 9th, I purchased it. And so 21 days. And across 21 days, we've been able to play that many battles. And so it is absolutely going to be interesting and important to understand how that new card, Hello is the Hollow, will compare to the other meta cards. I think it's going to take it minimum 2 weeks to really explore that, because the card has to be acquired by those who can use it well. Then there'll be a figuring out of how to use it in an optimized fashion. There might be losses that happen along that way that obscure your understanding of its usefulness. So you can misuse a tool. If I try to hammer a screw, like, that's not going to be optimized. It's gonna quote unquote fail. And the question then is, did the tool fail, or did the application of the tool fail? And so that's totally the same thing with respect to any card within a game like Splinterlands. And so I think that's why you need at least a week or two to get that data going. And for me, something like Splinter Coach is how I get that data. I'm sure other people track. Like, I bet there are people who like literally just track. But one last point I wanted to make here: if I played 36 plus 23 games with the Night Stalker, 36 plus 23, that's 59 matches. 59 matches, and apparently I got it 21 days ago, which is surprising to me. That's actually 2.8 battles per day, and in part that's because this number was higher like last week. So I'm dropping off in terms of sort of its usefulness, or I've been playing other things or other angles, or my bot has been playing more matches and I've been playing fewer or something. But all those sorts of calculations and considerations have to be brought into the conversation when we assess how does a card like Hello is the Hollow fit into, the meta and whatnot. There she is. Okay. 500, 600, you think, gathering? Okay. I'm going to set a little poll here, guys. Let me know. I want to see. How do I do this? Start a poll. I want to minimize options. Let's see. How much will Heloise, I might spell her name wrong, Hollow sell for average? I'm going to go 500 plus. Let's go 750 plus. I want to add one more. I want to add one more little. Yeah, that's too bad. I'm going to have to do just two options. What do I think? I'm going to go 4 to 7. There we go. I got 2 options for you. Start pool. I'm excited to see what you guys think. I mean, I explained what I think and why, but what do you guys think? Okay, what else? I'd be guessing the first card will go for over 800, maybe 1,000 or 1,200, but as soon as the whales got their first fill, this price is going to drop to 600, 800. I understand that logic, and I think it makes perfect sense if there's 10 or 15 whales. And what is a whale too, right? Is a whale a person that has, you know, as Tails alluded to, that language you said, indefinite discretionary income? Is that the qualification of a whale, or is a whale somebody who's willing to throw $1,000 at a ultra rare card? That's the piece, right? It's not just a new card that's maybe powerful. You might argue it's not. I think it's going to be really powerful. Set aside its functionality. The scarcity is 100% unique. There is no card that scarce in the game. There is no card that's even like 4 times as many issuance is the closest. Like I showed you that before. Alphas, betas, you know, certain promo cards. 400 cards is like the next closest. And this is going to have 95 regular foil units and 5 gold foil units. There's no card in the game like that. Except for maybe the baby, right? Let's actually look at that. I don't want to get too distracted on chasing down any other rare ones. I guess I want to finish the point that 2 things. 1, a whale might just mean, in this context, somebody's got $1,000 to burn on 1 card. That's in my mind really what I'm looking at. And then secondly, we're not just talking about the utility of the card, we're talking about its scarcity. Because the issue of its valuation, or its being worth 1,000 or 800 or 5 or whatever you think is the right number, is almost certainly, like I'm saying 80%, the valuation comes from not its function in the game, but from its scarcity in the game and your long-term confidence in the game. The collectability of it is a piece there, and that's part of its valuation. And so, yeah, you're right though. Long story short, if it comes out hot and they sell for 1,000 and then 2 weeks in they're selling for 800, that tells you that there was 10 people that wanted it, right? If it goes to 50 days and then it starts really dropping off in price point, that tells you 25 to 50 people really wanted it, and maybe they bought more than 1 copy, but that's it. I expect more consistency. Now, of course, some days there will be, you know, certain whales, interested parties are just going to be away at certain times. They'll be on vacation across a 100-day window. Certain days will sell for cheaper than others, period. And so, it will tell us something. I guess I just think the phrase whale is broader than maybe some of you might. And also my argument for price point is almost mostly out of its scarcity. And now on the issue of scarcity, let's quickly look at that a little bit closer. Okay, let's look at that closer. So I said the scarcity is, let's go. How do I see that again? Peak monsters, buy cards, grid, alpha, ledge. Let's look at legendary, reg, foils, alphas. So again, 400 total cards. That's what we're talking about. 400 total cards for the Angel Light Alpha. 1,500, 1,600 BCX. With the Hello is the Hollow, we're going to have 11 BCX times 100. We're going to have 1,100 BCX. We're going to have 100 cards. In fact, it's not quite that much, is it? Because it's 11 BCX times 95. And so we're going to have 95 units and 1,045 BCX. So our BCX, which is a little bit irrelevant when you really understand that these are max foil and only max foil, it's more about the total units available. There are not 435 cards for Hello is the Hollow. There are 95. 95. That scarcity matters in a big, big way. in my mind, that's the primary justification for a high price point. You have to believe the game's fun. You have to believe it in the future Splinterlands. And out of that place, you want this super hyper rare, scarce asset. Those are alphas. I think we looked at promos. Waka had 500 cards. Zyriel had 1,382. Lux, 922. Archmage Arius. Okay, look at that. Look at that. Okay, Archmage Arius, 87. Interesting. Prince Julian is the kid I was talking about. 83 Prince Julians. Okay, so it's not entirely unheard of. 87 on the Shinlo. 89 on the Dricken. Okay, so what about Eleanor? Are there any other cards that might be in that contention? I don't think so. I looked at alphas. The betas will be even more common than the alphas. I just looked at the promos. Those are going to be the ones that, it's not going to be a reward that's scarce. There's not going to be Untamed or Dice that are particularly scarce. Dice was more scarce than Untamed, but it's, 1,100 copies. Not Chaos, not Riftwatcher, not Rebellion. So the most scarce cards in the game, Archmage Arius, Prince Julian, Dricken, and Shinlo. And as we look at these price points, 895 for an Archmage Arius. Now that's a summoner. 895 for Prince Julian. That's a summoner. There is only 6 copies of that card. Wow. And the escalation of price point is ludicrous. Like you go from like, maybe I could be willing to buy that to like, this is crazy instantly. But that's what happens though when you have 90 cards that exist in the game, right? There are going to be 1 people or 2 people that are willing to liquidate an asset like that, and most buy it to hold it forever. And when you get that tightening on the reins of access in an ecosystem that is, again, if it's fun and if it has a future, if it's fun and rewarding, and those are questions that you will debate on with me, but if those are your conclusions, that it's fun and it has a future, it's going to be rewarding and the rewards matter, then you start to get to a place where holding the assets across time makes sense, particularly when it's literally the 5th scarcest object in the game. And the gold foil. So then I want to just quickly see these ones. Prince Julian. There are 7 gold foils of Julian. There are 3 Archmage Ariuses. Oh no, hang on. There are 3 because there was 12. Wow, guys, that's so crazy. There was only 12 of this card. Now they were compiled into 3. Wow. Okay, so they were eventually all put together, I guess. It must be the case. Lux, 63 Lux. There, look at this, guys. That's such a crazy card to have. There is literally 1 max level Mighty Dricken in the game. Never to be more. This card's interesting. Do you guys ever see this card? Like when have you ever seen this card? I rented it this last couple days. 1 mana. Look at this. 1 mana, 2 damage output, which is not entirely unheard of. We've seen that before, even recently with the Legendary Rebellion Soulbound cards. At the max level, they usually get the 2nd damage output. There's even some Fiends, right, for 0 mana that you get the 2 damage output. But this kit is so interesting with the Flying, the Trample, the Enrage, and the Scavenge. This is a card where if you're that one person, okay, you don't need the gold foil, you can have the red foil. But if you're one of 50 people that has that card, when you do get to play it in those, for instance, equal opportunity, I think it's called, rule set, where everyone has the same amount of hearts, that's great. Because flying, 25% chance to evade. Trample, that's interesting. The Enrage in conjunction with 2 damage. 2 with 1 Inspire becomes 3. 3 becomes 5 for 1 mana. And Trample with that. And Scavenge makes your guy last longer. And, right? Interesting. I don't know when that one sold. Now, I think that's the Untamed. That's the Untamed sort of fractured card frame. I don't remember that card like being sold. Was it given away? It must have been given away. I don't remember the scenario or conditions by which that was issued. Neither do I with Archimage Arius or Julian. I remember them being in the game. I remember others having them. I never got them. Anyways, that's how I feel about Heloise. And let's close that poll and see what you guys said. Okay. So 50, how much will Heloise the Hollow sell for average? 60% of you think it's going to be in that 750 to 1,000 range. 40% of you think it's going to be a bit cheaper. Only 5 votes though. Thanks for voting, guys. I'm not sure where I land, to be honest. Like, I mean, what I'm saying is that I could see some of them selling less than $1,000, but I don't think that'll be the general accepted price point. Oh, let's go ahead and go to this. Boom. Back. The last 15 cards will go up in price again. So you think there'll be a bit of a lull in the middle? I think that I could see that. I think a lull would make some sense. Yeah. Tails, I would agree with a floor price less than 1,000 for most regular foils based on existing card prices, but we shall see. Yep. International Travel Channel, GG, I didn't have enough time to and didn't use all the mana. Oh, yeah, I see. Yeah, GG, brother. So you didn't use all the mana. So even like, okay, going back to that battle we fought, who would use 11 on your Izzyar, used 1 on your main tank, that's such a crazy 5 bomb damage for that main tank. And then you used a 0 archery. And then I think you used a Fiend. Yeah, so you only used like 12 mana out of 22. Cards like Archimist, Protect, and Force Field abilities should increase viability when Heloise is in play. Yeah, 100%. I was trying to understand the weaknesses of Heloise because I think I have a perspective on why it will be good. But one of the limitations is 1 armor. Like, it's 1 armor stops that huge retaliate. And because it doesn't have piercing, and I don't think there's any way to give it piercing. Is there? Okay, with death or green? I think the answer is no, but I want to quickly look. Summoners, death, nooch. Oops, not common. Okay, death. Oh, and dragon. Yeah. Wow. Wow. I'm just seeing some things. So there is no piercing access. But Nidhogger with Heloise the Hollow, allowing an execute to come on this card, right? You're going to attack me. You will kill me. I'm going to retaliate 100% of the time. And I can attack in any context, in any situation. And I'm going to hit you. Well, that's the question too. Speed. So armor was one of the vulnerabilities. If you have 1 armor, you stop that. You stop this wrecking ball. Speed and evasiveness is the other weakness, right? Because 3 is not very fast and you can miss. There's no true strike here. And so the vulnerabilities or the limitations are, in my mind, those are the 2 biggest ones. Of course, the lack of resiliency is a vulnerability, is a limitation, but that's also a sales pitch with her because of her retaliate and her soul siphon. The biggest weaknesses are its speed and the lack of piercing. And there is no piercing access from any summoner that's available to her at this moment. I would argue there's some pretty interesting, powerful additions though, like the idea that you could bring Riskral Drath, give her a True Strike. That's pretty impactful because you could miss otherwise. And missing with her is like you've wasted everything. Like that, if she's missing her shots, you're losing that game. If she's hitting her shots, you're probably winning that game. So True Strike could be really powerful for her. I would also argue Nidhogger with the Execute would be crazy, and the 2 speed could come by the way, which also partially solves the first problem. Because the Execute's interesting because if I hit you, like a lot of times what'll happen is, you might have picture some of the cards that have thorns, but they have almost no hit points, right? So I'm going to run into your armor and you think, oh, I'm safe now. Well, are you though? Cards that have like no hit points and have the armor, yeah, with an Execute, I'm going to keep going. So that's the crazy thing. Ever Hungry Skull was one of the ones I was thinking about mentally there. Enchanted Defender is another, right? So there's many cards that an Execute really change that picture. This is the first time I've done speculation on this. As I think about it, Riskal Drath with the True Strike, Nidhogger with the Execute and the 2 speed. The Blast would be crazy too, wouldn't it? Like that's nuts. What would you rather have? An 8-bomb with a Blast? That's so insane, by the way. Or an 8-bomb with an Execute and 2 more speed so you get those hits off or you land more likely. I don't know. But clearly those are interesting and synergistic approaches. But what about Lorcas, right? Life Leech, bringing her back a little bit. If she lands an 8-bomb, it's conceivable she's pulling in 4-5 health. I actually don't know. I think it's half rounding down, right? Is that how it works? I forget now, but it's, it could be meaningful. Life Leech. I don't think that would be the play though with the Life Leech because you're too vulnerable. There's no shield, there's no void, there's no phase, so your issue isn't how do I stay alive longer. Your issue is how do I take advantage of the kills that she's going to get. And so Trample is where I go with Lorcas. Trample and the Fury too, by the way. If you're trying a taunt to control me and pull me away from some of your people and I hit you with an 8 that's Furied, whoa, and then I trample through you, that could go crazy. And the melee buff too. So those are 3 amazing ones. I don't think I like the Eternal Tofu idea. I mean, maybe you would want to give her a Divine Shield. But again, her issue isn't like, how do I keep her alive longer? It's how do I maximize her damage? How do I let the Wrecking Ball do what it needs to do? A Cane with an ambush would be maybe interesting, but not even as close to as interesting as some of these other choices. Like the Execute could go crazy. The Blast could be nuts. The Blast could be even crazier than the Execute because the Execute only happens 1 time. If I hit you and you have 2 hit points left, I will hit you again. Great. Blast is way crazier than that because every time I hit you, I'm going to do, I think it's 4. I think it would be 4 blast damage to the neighbors. Is that right? If I do 5, I drop 3. Yeah, I think it would be 4. Which is crazy. To each of the neighbors, unless they have a reflection shield. Like, good luck. And then getting into something like, some crazy old Untames. Hey? Like, what would that thing do with a Last Stand? Now, that wouldn't actually be optimized, actually, come to think of it, because then you wouldn't have any soul siphons to work with. Kitty with a True Strike, less important. I think we featured probably the best of the best there. Maybe this would be helpful, right? When you're going against like those Grimbardens or whatever. Yeah, powerful card though, clearly. 10:30. Okay, we'll keep going. I'm going to go for probably another half an hour. Depends on my voice and depends on if you guys want to keep hanging out. International Travel Channel finishing is, I normally play older wild cards and don't know my way around the modern. I love the modern. I've been playing a lot of modern lately. When we did a max battle there, I don't have a lot of those max cards. They're, in fact, I think it was called Oleto or something, Poletto. That healer I used, I've never seen it max level. And now that I've seen it max level, I actually really want it. And so that's kind of cool that the new battles allow that sort of observation. And I think that's why we have to move to, and why we are going to move toward, a free-to-play element of Splinterlands. Didn't Matt just recently say that that's going to be in early 2025? I think. I could be wrong about the time, but that it's pretty much confirmed that we're moving towards a free-to-play element of this game, which is important because of what just happened. Like, I battled you for free with cards I don't have, and I saw something I like, and now I'm interested, and I might go buy it. And that will happen with more people once we make that move. Heloise will become a problem if the next set does not get force field cards. One IRUB. In Rebellion, there's not one force field card. Give her enough speed, no shields, and the game will be over. Yeah, I think you're right, but then you said it too, right? Give her enough speed and no shields. So we as defenders, if you're coming at me with Heloise the Hollow, I need to recognize that and respond appropriately. How would you respond appropriately? Well, understanding which splinters are available and how you could bring her to the table will impact which abilities and tactics you can apply to her. So in the example I showed, I would tend towards suggesting that the strongest 3 summoners for her are Drath, Nidhogger, Lorcus. Drath is probably the strongest, Nidhogger is the strongest with respect to the blast and maybe the execute. I think in that order, blast and then execute in that order. 2 speed though is very interesting because it complements, right? But regardless, Nidhogger to me probably rings as maybe the most impactful for her. True Strike, certainly powerful. The trample could get crazy. Nidhogger, Lorcus, Drath in that order for me. So you're facing me, or I'm facing you, and you've got Nidhogger, or rather you've got Heloise the Hollow. I'm gonna counter one because I'm gonna see it in your last 5 matches. You're having fun with it. You're winning with it. It's super powerful. It's overpowered. It's winning all the time. I'm gonna see you playing with it in your last 5 matches. Then I know. Well, also I probably know, are you using it with Drath or Nidhogger and Lorcus? I also know, is Dragon available? I also know is, well, I guess it would, if this one's available, this one's available because they're both fire. Well, if only green is available, then Lorcus wouldn't be available. Again, I can pare down what you could bring to the table and what abilities you might complement her with, and I need to accommodate, because you're right, that thing is dangerous. I would argue Scattershot is an interesting counter, that right? Because if I'm not executing you, you're not returning fire. And if I'm stunning, Scattershot with stun could be interesting. Camouflage Scattershotters could be interesting because I don't want you to be opportunity tearing them down while they're putting in work to eliminate your soul siphons. So there's definitely different counters. But the easy, obvious one would be bring too much speed so she never lands her shots. If you bring in 6 speed base with a couple swiftness or a blind or a dodge, right? Suddenly she's never hitting. Like, I mean, never. 3 speed's not good. It's not sufficient unless we bring in the True Strike. So again, knowing what your opponent could play and how she could be tweaked with tactics will allow you to counter for sure, because 1 armor is a counter, or 2 or 3 speed difference is a substantial counter. A 1 blind is a substantial counter. Alpha Gold foil legendary cards. Are they ultra rare? Let's have a peekaboo. Alpha Gold foil legendary. $17. So there's 17 of the Element of Phoenixes. What about Gold Dragon? 24. Chromatic 15, Lightning 14. Yeah, I mean rare for sure, but not even as rare. Not even like 3 times as more common. That's crazy. That's crazy. Would you rather have a max level Angel of Light Alpha, which is an amazing card, and pay 40? There's literally none. Is there any of these? Let me see. None of these are on the market. Like there's not one. So it's not even a fair comparison. But I think this is the thing. This is a bit of the picture of the future. If the game's going to stick around and continue to draw, maybe begin to draw new player base. You might argue we haven't done anything but lose player base. Okay, fine. I know since the last bull market we've been bleeding out. I get it. I've been here too. However, I just believe we're going to see another bull market. And if I'm right about that, we'll see new player base growth. And if we see new player base growth, they'll need cards. And if they need cards because the game's fun and has a future, then we'll see growth in the economy of the game. That's my expectation. And so with that in mind, I think a future for Heloise the Hollow, which is crazy scarce, is like this. It won't be available. And if it is available, it's sold for these crazy market prices. $4,500 was the last, I guess, price to sell. Let's click on that. Actually, what's the craziest one? $9,000 for Lord of Darkness. That's the craziest one. $9,000. Whoa. Dude, one of these sold for $200? Are you kidding me? There was 17 of these cards, and one sold for $200. Right? Market trend. Okay, show me that. Show me that. How do I see that again? Card listings. Card bids. Why can't I see it? Is it too old? It must have happened forever ago. That's why. Oh, okay, there it is. Month. So it's well beyond a month ago. And yeah, so I can't see it, which sucks because I'd love to know when this thing sold for $200. That's crazy in terms of its scarcity. And it's a great card, by the way. And this thing sold for $9,000. So my point is, this is the sort of future I would imagine for a card that has 5 copies of it. Let's look at those summoners, by the way. Again, back to promo. The gold foils. Julian one time sold for $2,000. That's a summoner. But it's a summoner of similar scarcity. Similar. This card is funny, but it's like, you know what I mean? This card is not Heloise the Hollow. Yeah, this is a summoner. Heloise the Hollow is a monster. I would argue Heloise the Hollow has a bigger impact than something like a Julian. Archmage Arias has a bigger impact than a Heloise the Hollow because it's a summoner and it's a powerful summoner, and I would want to use it in a lot of contexts. And then you go $2,000 is what that thing sold for. That tells me that $10,000 for Heloise the Hollow is probably unlikely. But at the same time, maybe 5,000 is, maybe 4,000. And who bought this and when? You know what I mean? There's so many things that you'd want to. It's hard to. It's apples and oranges. And it's hard to compare. But the fact that at some point, and it wasn't recent, was it? Let's go month. It wasn't in the last month. When would that have been? Was that like 3 months ago when the bear, we were in the dead of the bear market? When was this one? And then how many of these sell to, by the way, when they sell, they probably sell through peer-to-peer. Like somebody goes into Discord and like, I've got a Prince Julian, who wants it? And then it's a private transaction with no market fees. So these probably don't reflect what market value would be. They reflect what someone who didn't understand the ecosystem and the community had to sell it for. I wager that's a steal. I wouldn't have bought it for that price. I'm just saying, I think that was reflecting a lack of buyer interest and selling into a moment when you just needed liquidity. Because if you have a card that's one of 3, the idea that you would sell it for $2,000 to me is you just listed it and just walked away. You're like, I'm done with the game and I'm just going to sell. As opposed to, I love the game. I believe in the future. I'm willing to wait through a bear market and wait for a bull market moment, and I'm willing to negotiate private sales with individuals that I know in the community. That would garner a greater number, you would think, right? My financial journey. Arias was sold at max level like Lux, I believe. Is that right? I know that Gank, he had 2 Archmage Ariases. I don't know the story behind that. I just remember him telling me one time he had 2 of them. Jason Jenkins, Halois can die quickly if you ambush in round 0. It doesn't have much health with the cane. You're right, Jenkins, but then the Halois the Hollow has 2 abilities that will love that you did that. The first is the 100% retaliate when you execute her or when you finish her. So she will retaliate to your ambush monster in round 0. And she will hit for 8, and maybe she'll kill your ambush monster. And then also, she has Soul Siphon. And Soul Siphon revives her, resurrects her, assuming she has an ally that is not currently stunned or wearied. And so, I don't know if you knew that, but yeah, that's almost what she wants to happen. Which is crazy, hey? It's so interesting how the game has been evolving lately, where we've seen debilitations, and we've seen tactics that you can put not just on your own team member, but on your opponents. So in these ways, there's this dynamic sort of new life in what the game is of Splinterlands, because it's no longer like dying. Dying can be good. What are you talking about right now? It's okay. It's good that my card dies in round 0. Yeah, it can be. It might be. If I had quick example. If I had Nidhogger and I played Blast on my... Okay, I drop Nidhogger. You drop a Cane. I see that your ambush is going to do 8 or more damage. And I guess that's possible. There are certain cards that could do that. You could have more than one ambush monster, for instance. And I see that your ambush is going to deliver a killing blow. Because I know you picked a Cane, and I see they're all going to attack my Halois the Hollow. I can predict that that's going to transpire. And I will, obviously, in that context, I would want to assess whether execute is going to make the most sense, but probably I end up doing blast. And so when you attack me and kill me in round 0, I'm going to return fire with an 8 bomb, hitting presumably. That's one of the questions. Am I going to hit? And does she? And she takes away an armor too, by the way, which could be really, really helpful, right? For my ability to hit you. If you've got 1 armor, not anymore. And so I think that might be exactly what I would want you to do. Do you see my point? I'm going to drive an 8 damage to your ambush monster. I'm also going to do 4 blast on either side. I would argue that's exactly why you buy this card, because you want to bring that sort of attention on yourself and facilitate that sort of immediate response. This card is not a card that you buy to have a 20-round match. It's a card that you buy to win in the first or second round. That's what this game is. That's part of how this is radically affecting the game of Splinterlands. It's not so much a perseverance card. It's absolutely a let's go. Let's move it. And you know what's also interesting? This is just a bit of an anecdotal note. It's interesting to see how much the appetite for conversation around the card. This is like the 3rd or the 4th time I've talked about the card for half an hour or more each time, and with some of you. And yet we keep having these conversations where it's clearly exciting, and some of us are concerned about how it will impact the game. Others of us are excited to have it. Others of us just are excited to watch it come and see what it does. But no one is like ambivalent about it. No one is looking at that card and saying, no big deal, or like, show me the next one, or what's after that. Eli says someone snagged an amazing deal there. I wonder if you're talking about you're probably talking about that Archmage Arius, I bet. Or maybe you're talking about that Elemental Phoenix. Either way, yes. Gathering the Magic, thinking of picking up an Alpha Lord of Darkness for $16. Are you kidding me? Is it $16 for a beta? You can't say that stuff on live chat. You just got to do it. You got to pull the trigger. Lord of Darkness. Wow. So I guess you maybe you did or somebody did. But LOD, maybe the best tank in the game. Obviously the vulnerability is magic, but there's scenarios where there is no magic available, and this card is crazy with the shield and the enrage and the stun and the retaliate. This thing is bananas. It's got a huge hit point. This is an excellent card. I love this card. And the artwork is one of the first where it was like super, it's cool. It's old cool though. It's like got that retro cool. Some of the old cards are not cool. This one is. Even Gold Dragon, which is a very powerful card. It's just kind of cute. You know what I mean? The fire looks like a little fizzle. So Lord of Darkness is for real. And that one's awesome. And you can get I'm pretty sure I have one of these cards. Or at least I used to. And I either put it on land or sold it. Do I have Lord of... Yeah, okay. I got two max levels. Let's go. Oh, I'm renting one? Yeah. See, I got one max level and I put it on land. But then this week I rented one from Han. Yeah. It's a great card. 10 DC a day to borrow that excellent tank at max level. The rental market is ridiculous. And that's a video I'm putting out soon. The rental market is ridiculous. It affords opportunities that you might not be aware of. Financial opportunities that are worth considering. Sold. I bought it. Nice. So $16 for a LOD. Did you get is that a max Lord of Darkness that you just bought? Let me know in the comments gathering. Actually, I can see for myself. I go into here and I go buy legendary, death, monsters, beta. Day. No data, week. That's not, I don't think that's reliable because it says 11 days ago. Regardless, I believe you. 16 bucks. So you must, I bet it was, it couldn't have been a max. If it was a max level, you just robbed. Market value, $6. Was it a level 3? Level 3 for 16 would have been a good price. Just snagged a Valnamore too for under 33. I bought a couple of Valnamores the other day just for one for me. I bought 2 level 3s for the purpose of, well, it's an amazing card and I love it. But yeah, that's right. Water, doom. Monsters. It's a promo, right? No, it's an Untamed. I always forget that. What card did you say? I'm getting distracted. Valnamore. Oh, you got Valnamore for... Okay, I didn't buy a Valnamore. Let's go. I was thinking of Phantom of the Abyss. Phantom of the Abyss is such a good card. And I bought 2 level 3s with 6 BCX because it was like a substantial discount. I think I might have paid... Let's just have a peek what I paid. My cards. I like the card. I think it's powerful. I think it's worth having long term. I think it's, so I wanted to have it and I thought I could put them together if I needed to. Look at this. I paid $24 for 6 BCX. So $4 each, right? Yeah. Which is to say a little bit under current market value. But I think that card's amazing. And I thought, even if I put them together to get that level 4, I'm okay with that, to pay that. Because at the time when I bought it, the next closest one was like $6. So I would have had to buy one for $24. And then I would have had to get 5 copies at like, look at like $5 or $6. The market has changed a little bit since then. But that's an amazing card too. Ow. But you said Valnamore. That's a beta. it must have been a 1 BCXer, because there's no way you just bought like a level 2 or level 3. But this is a card that's really exceptional historically, and I rent it frequently. This is a card I would love to own. You know, the difficulty with this, though, as you guys well know, is like, where do we draw the line in the sand? Like, are we going to spend $400 on one card on Valdemar? That's a wild card, by the way. And a lot of people have negative opinions about the wild. They want to say like, it's modern is where I want to be. Modern is always going to have the greater rewards. I'm actually not certain about that, by the way. I made a video like a month ago or a few weeks ago where I talked about, we right now think of the modern as the place where everyone wants to play and where real players want to play, and where ultimately people are going to spend more to play. Like, they'll buy Rebellion cards for $5,000 or $6,000. They're going to buy Conclave Arcana for $6,000 or $10,000. That's a $20,000 setup fee to be a top tier Modern League player, versus you could probably play in Champion or Diamond with just Chaos cards in the wild, like high Diamond at least. First of all, I think I'm right about that. I don't know I'm right about that. But if you can play, just follow with me for a second. If it's conceivable that you could play high level modern, high level wild with $1,000 worth of cards, it takes a special collector and, you know, interest in the game to say, I'm going to spend 20 grand on modern assets to achieve a high level of success. Now, I know to get Champ 1 in Wild, you're going to have to buy $20,000 worth of cards, which is what I have. And I get Champ 1, but I just kind of squeak in with no rentals. I squeak in with 15 to 20 grand worth of cards. So you might say it's comparable, and yet one has bots and one doesn't. Well, I actually think right now, Modern is more attainable, more real people are playing in it than might be true in the future. Because as Chaos Legion moves out of Modern and we get Conclave Arcana, I think the entry point for high level success in Modern is not going to be $7,000, but it's going to be $20,000. That's just rough numbers. We go from $1,000 Chaos Legion set max and $7,000 Chaos or Rebellion set, $8,000 to probably $20,000 to get just your cards. Forget about your SPS, to play in Diamond or Champ Modern. That's exciting. It's interesting. People will do it. But if we were talking about where the real player base grows, or where the new, because I'm expecting new player base influx. Are those players going to want to play in that league where they have to pay that price tag? Or are they going to want to come to Modern where they can get away with anything they want? Like, they can go and they can buy that Valdemar for $30 and compete at a pretty distinguished level in the silver or bronze level, right? That's a card that's meaningful, and it will. So where does that mean players land? Where does it mean where are the incentives and the attractions? I'm starting to wonder if maybe Wild becomes the place where new people go. And I know they'll get you might argue they'll get slapped around by some of those cards that they don't have access to. They don't want to spend 20 grand, you just said, Dwayne. So they're not going to go to Wild because they're not going to want to buy all those alphas, betas, promos, etc. But they don't have to. They don't have to, because actually you can get away with buying some really cheap cards, some old reward cards, some Chaos Legion cards. And it's almost more about the Chaos Legion set than anything else. That and its associated reward cards. Those assets alone transform an access point into this game. Or maybe they don't transform, they create an access point into this game that is going to drive certain new players to make choices on how and where they play, and maybe whether they play. I actually believe that might mean more human players come to Wild over the next 12 months than perhaps go to Modern, because simply affordability and a high level of play is possible with less in Wild, my opinion, based on chaos, based on rewards, based on etc., than is possible in Modern. And even now, it's easier to play in Modern than it will be in 3 months when Conclave Arcana is released. Conclave Arcana is probably going to be a $10,000. You need to put in 10 grand to get a max Conclave. And you don't need a max Modern set to play in Modern. I know that. But even a low level access point a silver or gold league modern set will be far more expensive than a functional silver or gold level set in Wild, which is strange because there's so many more assets in Wild. But it's true because actually with the multitude of assets available in Wild, you don't necessarily need everything to have a functional team. You see people play Lux and they only play Lux. Like literally you buy the one summoner and that maybe is all you do. Or you buy, just because certain cards are modern doesn't mean they can't play in Wild, right? But you could get those new summoners that have the multi-splinter. And so there's just ways to make that way more affordable. I'm wondering, I know we all talk about modern, like we want to be there, we want to position ourselves there, and with good cause because the SPS returns are substantial and significant. Plus no bots in there is, in my opinion, more fun. But for all those, setting aside those, I think Chaos Legion is a bit of a banner that says, hey, come over here, you can play affordable within this rule set where these cards are accessible. And I know we're concerned about Chaos Legion being so affordable. We actually wish they held greater value. We wish there was fewer copies. We want to complain about how many issuance was made. I get all of that, but I'm saying a bit of a silver lining might always be, I think now, will always be that Chaos Legion acts as an entranceway for new players. And that will mean not to modern, but to Wild. I don't think we've thought that through. And that will, it has, there's unintended consequences that flow from that. Look at this. Welcome back. The auction house opens its doors for bidding on the Hello is the Hollow starting November 6th. Check out our post here. The post was labeled December 31st, 1969. That's funny. Just the date being way off. So you bought, that's a great card. And you will get a lot of use out of it in the lower league levels. Like that card, there are times where you can play a level 1 legendary summoner in a gold match. Maybe not gold 1, but there are times where that's going to be meaningful. Well, it punches well beyond, it punches up and it punches, outside of its weight class, I think is what people would say. William, good to see you. I feel like we have 6-month window to legitimately expect a large influx of new players due to cheap Chaos Legion making the bar to entry low. Do you expect an influx when modern is going much pricier? I think you're asking that question like before or outside of my conversation I just had. I see you dropped that comment 10 minutes ago. I think my previous conversation a little bit answers that. Is there an angle to that that I didn't respond to? Let me think about this. I feel like we have a 6-month window to legitimately expect a large influx of new players due to cheap Chaos Legion making the bar to entry low. Well, you're making 2 points in that first part of the sentence. The first point is that there's a 6-month window for new players to come. And the second piece is that Chaos Legion is part of that window. And I would argue you need to pull those two ideas apart. Because if there's a 6-month window to expect a large influx of new players, I actually would argue that that is a product not of Chaos Legion price point, but of the crypto bull market and maybe the altcoin bull market. So let me make sure I'm being clear on that. I do think Chaos Legion can attract new players and it might hold their attention because it makes the game affordable. I get where you're going with that. What I'm saying is a more important consideration is actually things like SPS price, because you need SPS stake to extract for value and reward. And so if that starts getting out of control in terms of its price point, that will begin to deter new players from coming. That's a piece of it. But also, and this is like in direct opposition to that point, as SPS price goes up and the game becomes more unattainable or more inaccessible, you're actually going to attract more players because of that inaccessibility, which is that ironic? I think it's ironic. What I mean is If SPS 10Xs, it'll be harder to get into the game, but more people will want to get into the game because of perceived future gains. When candles are green, everyone thinks they should buy. And that's not true, and it's problematic, but that's what many people will do. And there's another piece to that. If SPS is 10xing, other altcoins are 10xing, 20xing, 50xing. And so the sloshing around of new wealth comes chasing after other gains. And they go, my first bag went up 40x. I see this other thing that's interesting and been around for 6 years, and it sounds kind of fun, and I'm willing to throw some of my new, easily acquired assets at it and see if that, which is green last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, if it can move from a 10x to another 40x. If I can 10x my 10x is what I like to say, right? People like to take that chance. If they're on a winning streak, they want to keep playing. That's what I'm saying. And so I'm pointing to new player influx, of course, has to do with card availability as well as SPS asset availability. If cards are not as attainable, that will push away certain audiences. But I think the bigger attraction is going to be the altcoin bull market. If there is going to be a broad, generalized altcoin bull market, that to me is the 6-month window that you're pointing to. That's the factor that I'm most watching. That's the reason I would expect there to be a real influx of players. Not so much card availability, card access, low pricing on cards, which is a concern and part of the calculation, but less of one. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. And then you said, do you expect an influx when modern is going much pricier? I think you're saying as Chaos Legion moves out of modern will become more pricey. Am I saying that, do I believe that player base will grow when modern grows? When modern loses Chaos Legion and becomes more expensive to play? Again, I think it's less about the cards. It's not about what cards are in modern or not modern. Yes, the Chaos Legion accessibility and the affordability is part of that picture. But again, if altcoins are shining and just shooting to the moon, people will chase after the card assets regardless of their price point, and they'll chase after games like Splinterlands as long as our track record looks good and is behind, right? If your primary investment goes from 10K to 100K, and you see other investments that you're maybe interested in go from 10 to 20K, you go, wow, it's got green candles, it's on the right trajectory, people seem to like it, it's doing well, it's been around for years, I think it's going to go further. That piece, that's the FOMO piece of, I think it's going to go further, the green candles won't ever end. That causes a lot of people to move from one win to and chase after another. And that's where the new player base growth in my mind comes from. And that's where, so I do think we're probably looking at a 6-month window where we should start seeing player base growth. And I do think card assets are part of that picture, but I just think the bigger picture is the altcoin market and SPS generally, or maybe more specifically. Good thing I do the market watch vids every week now. I know the prices. Valinor usually goes 100 plus, really. Eli, the data compilation is invaluable at Gathering Magic. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Gathering, I watched one of them the other day where you were talking about, you're like buying the market and you're getting those summoners, the dual element summoners. And you're like, I'm going to buy 400 of these. Oh, wait, there's only 40 of them. And I'm going to buy 100 of these. And oh, wait, there's only 20 of them. Yeah, there's just not enough supply. And those were rebellion summoners, which theoretically there should be an abundance of. Because like all the arguments that have come from rebellion for the last 6 months were no one's going to want it. The prices are going to tank. It's not going to hold value. I mean, I guess not. I guess that's not been true. That hasn't proved true. People do want it. It is holding value and people seem to be buying it. In fact, the marketplace has a lack of abundance, a lack of depth, because when they go to market, they get bought. William, will new players want to play the bots and stake double the SPS? That's this great question. Great conversation. You're right. Those are considerations too. One thing I was looking at, and I want to kind of do a video on this. I need to do some math to do this video for you, but I noticed, I was hanging out with Jim Morgan the other day, and we were talking about starting a new account, and he plays in, it was a wild account. And it was interesting to note that 50,000 SPS was a meaningful return on how could I do this? How could I do this? I want to show you. Okay, bear with me. I'm going to log out of this account, and I want to show you a piece of data. My 1258 account is one of my other accounts. And oh, look at that. 70 glint. Let's go. Okay. So let's say I have 0 SPS in this account. Oh, I actually have 24. But I have 0 SPS. Now, if I go into stake and I go 50,000 SPS, we move from a 0 modifier to a 4.5 modifier on my returns. And so that boost, this boost dramatically improves your earnings received for each ranked battle win. So I'm saying 50,000 SPS is actually a pretty reasonable starting point. I actually think this is a bit of a threshold that people should think about. Now, it doesn't have to be 50,000. You could go 25,000. 2.75 is not nothing. 10,000. 1.27 is not nothing. And so, yeah, you're right. You need a ton of SPS to get like the crazy bonuses. Like, what is it? I think it might be a million. Do you need a million? What's a million do for you? Yeah, a million gives you 12x modifier. I think I get a 14x modifier with 300,000 in modern. So you're right. You need way more in wild, but actually you don't need as much as you might think. 10,000 is not nothing. A 1.27 modifier is SPS payouts. That's the first point. You will get SPS payouts with a nominal investment in SPS. 10,000 SPS is not particularly expensive. At current price points, is that $800? No, is that $80? I think it's $80. 10,000 SPS times 0.008972, $89 US. Yeah, I mean, like, I think most people who are serious about crypto and who think this game is fun and who believe it has a future will have no problem doing that. Now, SPS can go double, triple, 10x from there. And now that relatively small goal suddenly gets way more expensive. I get it. And you're right. That has to be thought through, because there's this push and pull of factors, right? There is the Chaos Legion cards are affordable. I can buy them for cheap, a few $100, and I get a pretty solid deck. I can compete in wild with those. Oh, I need SPS. I need more SPS here, don't I? Ah, dang. But I don't need all of it. I don't need, like, perfection is not the goal. And sometimes perfection is the enemy of good. Like, we see what would be good for us, but because we can't get a 6-pack today, we're not going to start working out. Because we can't, right? Like, just because we can't make things perfect or optimized doesn't mean we shouldn't try what we're able to do. And so I think a lot of people will see that reason. And more important than that, a lot of people will be caught up in a FOMO moment and sloshing wealth from the broader altcoin market if this game is going to succeed, is going to come here. I think ultimately we might not see the altcoin bull market, but if we see it, it's going to drive SPS prices higher and player base growth. In my mind, if we don't see SPS growth in price because we don't touch the altcoin bull market, we will not see player base growth in a substantial way. But vice versa, if we enjoy the altcoin bull market, which I think we will, then we will necessarily see player base growth. And I think they end up in wild because of the reasons I explained. And I do think, people are imagining they need 1 million SPS to enjoy the game or to get meaningful rewards. I don't think that's so. everything I just said tells you about how much SPS you need to earn SPS. But remember what Matt's been saying recently. Glint is a different conversation too. It sounds as though we're going to get Glint just for playing. That's part of the picture of how they said they're going to start implementing free to play. You can play Splinterlands for free and you can start earning Glint. That's been what he's been talking about. That's been what he's saying. And so it's conceivable that someone will come and want to play in Wild where the cards are cheapest, because even though you don't have to buy assets, they will want to buy assets. As we alluded to earlier, when I played a battle with a friend in this live, it pointed out to me that there are certain cards I don't have that I do want. And so you'll come and you'll try and you'll like, and then you'll start buying. And you don't need to buy everything all at once. You'll just buy this card or that summoner or this, and you'll start, people will wade into the ecosystem and they'll start buying assets. And they will have a carrot on the stick in front of them. And it's not just the SPS rewards. So they don't immediately need a huge bag of SPS. That's a huge removal of a barrier. If we tell someone to play this game at a high level, you need, 1 million SPS, you need to understand bots and automation, you need to understand XBot, or you need to play the game devoutedly, or you need to, find a scholar, or, that's way too much complexity. It's like, hey, come try this for free, play with ghost cards if you want. You're going to earn some glint and some skins and some whatever. And as you move through league levels, you'll get, right? We see those more recently. As you move through league levels, you get a certain number of chests. So those chests produce soulbound reward cards. Those soulbound reward cards have no financial value. Like, they're not sellable, tradable, rentable, but they are enjoyable, and they will earn you SPS if you have an SPS bag. And so I actually think there's a conversation around the SPS that we think we need is very different than what we actually need. And so I think, me personally, I want 1 million SPS, and I think one day I'll get there. But there's something to think about around what I showed you with those multipliers. A 4x multiplier is not nothing. That was a 50,000 SPS. A 25,000 SPS bag was a 2.8 multiplier. And a 10,000 SPS bag was a 1.14, I think it was, multiplier. Some people, that's going to be fine because they're not just getting SPS, but they'll be happy to get a little SPS. I'm getting some crypto for playing a game that I like playing. And they don't have to know that at first on day one. They don't have to jump through that hoop on day one. They just eventually get to a place where like they're enjoying the game enough. They've started buying some cards and they're like, oh, I could, in addition to Glint, this game I like would also pay me SPS if I had an SPS bag. That is definitely, that's the play, man. That's the approach. That's the big win. I think that's the future for how we're going to really start onboarding more and more players, and add to that what I talked about and alluded to with respect to the altcoin bull market touching SPS. Because when we see green candles go wild in Splinterlands, if we see green candles go wild, players will come flocking. Because SPS moving from 1 penny to 10 pennies per unit transforms each win from, in Wild, a champion, I'm getting 5 SPS per match. 5 SPS becomes 50 cents per match. That can be consequential across, 10, 20 wins a day. And that's in Wild. But in Modern, it's another calculation and another, right? I get 15 SPS per win in Modern at like Diamond 1. I'm in Diamond 1 right now. I want to keep fighting, but I'm trying to fight for leaderboard in Wild. And so this season we're going to quit in Diamond 1 on my Modern. But I hope that answers your question. Great question, William. Thank you. Someone goes snagging the Cryptomancer under 20. You're welcome. Gathering a couple max levels for 70. Go get them. Max level beta summoners for $70. The other day I bought one gathering. What was his name? Plato. See, I bought a max level Plato for $89. Hey, Yasik used to own this card. It was owned by Zafood, transferred to Steam Monsters. I love that they track this now, by the way. And side note, we're going to start with the Hello is the Hollow are going to have sequential numbers. Like they're going to have a fingerprint, which is so important. A serial number, as it were. That's so important. And this stuff is important. Like, be able to track that. By the way, if I could see how many matches I played with the Play-Doh, like if it was in the card, the data was in the card, how cool would that be? You've played me 1,000 times. Like, you see that when you play video games nowadays. I can turn on a game and see how many hours I played. If I turn on Overwatch, I can see how many hours and minutes I've played Diva. How many wins, how many losses, how many times, like, was I the main tank or was I the, like, all that data is available. How many kills, what's my accuracy, all of that stuff. It's trackable and it's fun to look at. People like that stuff. That's why tools like Splinter Coach are interesting and why I pay money for this out of my own pocket. I'm not sponsored by Splinter Coach. I pay for the service. I just like the service they render. And so I know that there's probably like a financial consideration that I'm not aware of. Like, I assume there's a certain amount of server data that would be necessary to track that stuff and then store it maybe in the blockchain. I don't know if that's how it would work, but that would be cool if we could do that. All the beta legendary summoners are super cheap at max levels. New players might enjoy brawls more than ranked battles. Yeah, I think that's a piece of it. And I think, yeah, you're right. I mean, for sure, the people who are going to enjoy this game the most are the ones that strive to get the most out of it. Oh, you know what, guys? I'm going to wrap up. I'm realizing now in 40 minutes I've got a meeting with a friend, and I need to get a bite. So I'm going to finish the last couple comments, and I'm going to wrap. But just bolts, I think you're right. That's definitely a piece of what will keep people and what will attract people. I would point to, though, the greatest stickiness will come when they enjoy all of it. When they love the rank, when they enjoy when they enjoy playing the game within the game. How much money do I have and where do I spend that best? Do I rent cards? Do I buy cards? Do I buy SPS? There's so many little features to this that you either consider onerous or enjoyable. And if the more of them that you feel are enjoyable, the more inclined you will be to stick here. Guild Brawls is definitely a piece of the stickiness because it's a community piece. It's a friendship piece. It's another payout as well, by the way, with the SPS returns. And that doesn't necessitate your SPS stake either, right? You can earn Guild Brawl returns by participating in a Guild Brawl battle without having an SPS bag, which is interesting. Tournaments too, right? All of it will include. Gathering went on to say, got a level 3 Cryptomancer for $50. Okay, I'm happy now. Good for you, bro. Time to head to work. Go grab those deals, you guys. Have a great one. Alex, not math. Okay. Why not guild tournaments? Adios. Guys, thank you. You're amazing. I hope you have an awesome day. God bless. Bye for now.